The North Korean leader's sister Kim Yo-jong says a visit by Japan's Prime Minister Kishida to Pyongyang could be possible. Recent progress in South Korea-Cuba relations seems to have affected this political calculation, and tonight we hear from South Korea's Unification minister himself about this. More than 300,000 jobs were added last month in Korea, driven by older adults and more hiring in the healthcare sector. Trainee doctors at the nation's major hospitals announced to tender their resignations to protest the expansion of medical school admissions quotas. Patients' concerns have grown, and the government today renewed its stern message. It's February 16, 2024. This is Newscenter. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Min. We start with the remarks by the North Korean leader's sister, Kim Yo-jong, having suggested inviting Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida to Pyongyang if conditions are met. Much speculation has been made about what could be behind this reckoning, and tonight we hear from Seoul's Unification Minister Kim Myung-ho himself about this. Our North Korean affairs correspondent Kim Jong-sil had a chance to sit down with him.
Unification Minister Kim Myung-ho told Arirang News that Kim Yo-jong's statement came amid the historic diplomatic development between South Korea and Cuba the day before.
I think North Korea must be in shock witnessing South Korea establishing diplomatic ties with Cuba. The only way for North Korea to get out from diplomatic isolation is to give up on its nuclear weapons as demanded by the international community.
Some experts warned that Kim Yo-jong's statement may be aimed at trying to sabotage the trilateral relationship between South Korea, the U.S., and Japan. But Minister Kim said this will not be affected.
The trilateral cooperation system between South Korea, the U.S., and Japan has never been more concrete since the Camp David summit last August. North Korea will never be able to get to Washington and Tokyo without going through Seoul.
On Thursday evening, Kim Yo-jong released a rare statement saying that there may come a day when Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida visits Pyongyang, so long as Japan does not bring up issues related to Japanese abductees and the regime's nuclear and missile programs. The statement came as Prime Minister Kishida said last week, now is the time to make bold moves and change the current situation, referring to relations with North Korea.
So if Japanese and North Koreans make a bilateral deal, there will be a tension or differences of opinion between the allies in the situation between Korea, Japan, and the United States. And this is exactly something that the North Koreans are trying to achieve here, essentially to drive a wedge between Korea and Japan.
But the outlook for a possible visit to Pyongyang by Kishida seems unlikely under such conditions. On Friday, Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi said Japan could not accept Kim Yo-jong's conditions. The Japanese government acknowledges 17 citizens having been abducted by North Korea between the late 70s and early 80s. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
In other news, to better support young scientists and researchers, President Yoon today vowed to provide more financial support for young scientists and researchers at another policy debate session held in the science city of Daejeon. He also tried to alleviate concerns about the government's recent budget cut in R&D. Kim Do-yeon reports.
As part of efforts to foster more talent in science and tech, President Yoon Suk-yeol has introduced a stipend program to provide full-time grad students in national research programs. At least 800,000 Korean won, or about $600 per month, for master's students and $820 for people doing PhDs.
먼저 우리 이공계 학생들이 학비나 생활비 걱정을 덜고 학업과 연구에 매진할 수 있도록 전폭적인 지원을 펼칠 것입니다.
This came as he hosted the 12th Livelihood Policy discussion with scientists in Daejeon, known as South Korea's Research and Development City. He also put emphasis on the nation's research facilities collaborating with each other as well as ones overseas to make a, quote, quantum jump in the nation's research scene. The announcement comes against the backdrop of the government reducing the 2024 R&D budget by 15%, marking the first cut in 33 years, which has raised concerns among the scientific community about diminished support amidst reforms. Yoon tackled that head-on.
그런데 이러한 그 혁신 과정에서 지원이 줄어드는 것은 아닌지 염려하시는 분들도 있는 것으로 알고 있습니다. 전혀 걱정하시지 않아도 되고 오히려 훨씬 더 좋아질 것이라고 오늘 제가 확실하게 말씀을 드리겠습니다.
Other plans to support R&D include speeding up the development of a second science park in Daejeon's Daedeok-gu district, which follows the Daedeok Innopolis. Also saying that empty research facilities mean nothing. There will be better infrastructure in the region, including Chungcheong Train Express, to connect nearby major cities. While in Daejeon, President Yoon also attended other events to meet with the nation's students in sciences, sitting down with 200 of them, including Science Olympiad winners and national scholarship recipients. He reminded them of the tremendous role they have for the nation while reiterating his will to provide support.
여러분이 어떤 의문을 가지고 어떤 질문을 하느냐 그리고 어떤 해답을 찾기 위해 노력하느냐에 바로 우리나라의 미래가 걸려 있습니다.
He also gave a commencement speech at the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology graduation, where he told them to not fear failure and to boldly take on challenges as he does what he can to get them support. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Trainee doctors at the nation's major hospitals announced to tender their resignations to protest the expansion of medical school admissions quotas. Patients' concerns have grown, and the government today renewed its stern message. Shin Se-byuk has this report.
The government on Friday sent a stern message to doctors who are planning to go ahead with the collective submission of letters of resignation to protest the government's recent decision to increase the number of medical students.
We will issue individual directives to resume work for the residents who have declined to see patients. Should these directives be ignored, we will proceed with appropriate legal measures.
The Yoon Suk-yeol administration announced last week a plan to increase the overall medical student quota by 2,000 to over 5,000 by 2025 to address chronic doctor shortage in rural areas and specific medical fields. The government has also ordered 221 training hospitals nationwide to ban any mass leave-taking and to retain essential medical personnel, warning of the possibility of the latter's licenses being revoked if they do not comply with the ministry's immediate return-to-work order in the event of a strike. The government's solid response came as trainee doctors at 5 major hospitals in Seoul decided to collectively submit letters of resignation. According to the Korean Intern Resident Association, all residents at 5 major hospitals in Seoul will submit their resignations by the 19th and will stop working after 6 a.m. on the 20th. The so-called Big Five hospitals are Seoul National University, the Catholic University of Korea Seoul St. Mary's, and Severance Hospitals and Samsung and Asan Medical Centers. Some of the hospitals have confirmed that all of their residents have already agreed to hand in resignation letters. As of Thursday, according to the Health Ministry, a total of 154 letters have been submitted at 7 hospitals, although none have been accepted. If the collective action goes ahead as planned, it would mark the 4th time doctors have taken such action since the first medical strike in 2000. Meanwhile, medical students nationwide have decided to submit leave of absence requests en masse for February 20th, next Tuesday. This decision followed an emergency meeting held on Thursday evening by representatives from 35 of the nation's 40 medical schools. During the meeting, all participants unanimously agreed to coordinate the submission of the request while ensuring unified action across all 40 medical schools. Another meeting to further discuss plans for upcoming action, including the possibility of boycotting classes, is scheduled for later on Friday. However, according to the Education Ministry, as of Thursday afternoon, no leave of absence requests had been submitted to the schools. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
Korea's annual job growth rate rebounded to the 300,000 level last month, with workers in their 60s and above boosting the rebound. Our Lee Soo-jin has more.
South Korea's on-year job growth has recovered to the 300,000 range for the first time in 3 months. Data released by Statistics Korea on Friday shows that there were 27.7 million people in employment last month, up 380,000 from the previous year. This also marks the largest on-year job growth recorded in 10 months since March last year. Job growth was primarily led by an increase in employment of those aged 60 and above, which recorded a 350,000 rise, while there were also increases for those in their 30s and 50s. On the other hand, employment figures for people aged 15 to 29 fell by 85,000 compared to the previous year, showing a decline for 15 consecutive months, while an on-year drop for 40 to 49-year-olds was recorded for the 19th month straight. In terms of different job sectors, the healthcare and social assistance sector saw the largest number of job additions, with more than 100,000 people hired, followed by the science and technology and construction industries. And the manufacturing sector also recorded an increase for the second consecutive month, with an addition of 20,000 new hires last month. Employment in manufacturing tumbled from January to November last year before recovering in December.
The growth in the manufacturing sector was partly due to the base effect, but the auto and medical sectors are also seeing a rise, and while the electronics and chemical sectors remain sluggish, they are also showing signs of recovery.
And during a job task force meeting held on the same day, the first vice finance minister announced that while January's employment figures are encouraging, the government will remain vigilant.
We will continue to respond and monitor risk factors amid concerns about geopolitical tensions and sluggish construction orders. We will also promote hiring programs to create 1.14 million jobs in the first half of the year.
The vice minister also pledged that the finance ministry will continue to focus on implementing measures that will lead to an export-oriented recovery and expand women's participation in the workforce. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Seoul's finance ministry says exports and manufacturing production are tangibly on track, but spending and construction investment are lagging behind. Shin Ha-young with the details.
South Korea's economy is continuing its recovery momentum with strong manufacturing production and exports. That's according to the economic green book released by the finance ministry on Friday. The ministry's description of the country's economy has changed to recovery momentum is continuing from the previous reports. Signs of recovery are expanding. This is mainly due to a rebound in exports and manufacturing production.
Exports continue to rise, and in mining and manufacturing production, there have been consecutive increases for the last 3 quarters. With these factors, the economic recovery momentum has strengthened further.
In December, production in mining and manufacturing went up by over 6% from the year before, driven by the chip sector, which saw a jump of over 50% in output on rising demand. The country's exports continued to increase for the 4th consecutive month in January. There was an on-year increase of 18% in exports last month as demand for semiconductors continued to improve and shipments to China grew for the first time in 20 months. However, the ministry pointed out that the pace of recovery differs across sectors, with signs of sluggish private consumption and stagnant construction investment becoming more evident. In December, retail sales, a key gauge of private spending, dropped 0.8% from the previous month. Construction investment fell 2.7% on month and over 1% on year. There are rising expectations for a recovery in the IT industry and soft landing for the global economy. However, it evaluated that uncertainties still remain due to geopolitical risks like the war in Ukraine and the outbreak of conflict in the Middle East. In response, the government plans to continue to manage potential risks while also focusing on improving people's livelihoods by implementing key policy tasks identified during livelihood policy discussion with citizens. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok unveiled plans for the partial easing of people's financial burdens and stock market reform today at a press briefing. A fuel tax cut, which was due to expire this month, will be extended for 2 more months until the end of April in light of rising oil prices. The tax cut provides a 25% discount on gasoline and a 37% discount on diesel and liquefied petroleum gas. As for the corporate value up program that aims to raise the prices of undervalued stocks on the domestic market, the minister said that the fine details of the plan will be released later this month. A video of frozen kimbap has gone viral on social media, making more people outside Korea wonder about this food. Our An Song-jin went out to see what's so special about this rice-based product.
A quick snack or meal widely consumed by South Koreans, kimbap has been increasingly getting attention from outside of the country. It's usually made fresh, but the trend recently is kimbap that's frozen. Korean-American digital creator Sarah An's TikTok video of first trying frozen kimbap went viral with more than 10 million views. She said she was speechless and incredibly happy on how Korean kimbap has become so widely known in the US.
Basically, every Korean market which never carried frozen kimbap now sells their own brand, and all those get sold out. So I think it's become a staple that's just going to become more accessible as time goes on.
This company in Hadong, Gyeongsangnam-do province, produces an average of 13,000 frozen kimbaps a day using local vegetables. This is not only for domestic consumption, but also for export to nearly 20 countries. Once a kimbap is frozen, it can be stored for nearly a year and just needs a few minutes in the microwave. As products that contain meat cannot be exported, the kimbap that's shipped abroad is vegetarian and comes in varieties containing tofu, burdock, spinach, or other ingredients.
We want to eventually build factories outside of Korea so we can produce a wider range of kimbap with fewer limitations. So far, we've achieved our goal in branding kimbap not as Korean sushi, but as something originally Korean with its own name.
An expert says that there is more to the wave of Korean food than simply increased interest for Korean content, including K-pop, through social media.
Most importantly, this is all possible due to a vast improvement in South Korea's food processing and storage technology that allowed such products to be exported in good condition and taste for consumers abroad.
On the back of increased attention for convenient and healthy foods such as this frozen kimbap, exports of South Korea's rice-based processed products saw a hike. The value of exports exceeded $200 million for the first time last year, which has quadrupled the number from 2015. To enhance competitiveness in the market, the government plans to increase the exports of rice-based processed products to $400 million of exports by 2028. It will also promote growth by investing in R&D and infrastructure. An Song-jin, Arirang News, Hadong.
The president of the Korea Football Association, Chung Mong-gyu, today made the decision to dismiss Klinsmann, the head coach of the men's national team. After South Korea's disappointing performance in the Asian Cup semifinal, fan discontent escalated after what they saw as Klinsmann's lack of tactical acumen and leadership skills. Following the demand made by the KFA's national team committee on Thursday for Klinsmann to be replaced, the decision was made at Friday's emergency meeting by Chairman Chung, who himself is facing pressure to step down. Klinsmann's contract was supposed to run until the 2026 World Cup, but leaves after just 1 year in charge. It is Friday, and we are back with our weekly arts and culture segment. Joining me is our culture correspondent, Song Yoo-jin. Good to see you, Yoo-jin.
Good to see you too, Jungmin.
What do you have for us today?
Well, Jungmin, it's been quite a while since we talked about cinema and arts and culture, and actually the annual Berlin International Film Festival just kicked off on Thursday local time. And as you know, it's one of the most prestigious film festivals around the world, and Korean films have been leaving their mark since 1961 when director Kang Dae-jin's The Coachman won the Silver Bear, which is the second highest honor. And this year's lineup also includes several Korean films. So for this week, here's a preview of what you can enjoy at this year's Berlinale.
The Bear Hunt begins. The Berlin International Film Festival, or Berlinale, is back. Held every February, it stands among the world's top 3 film festivals alongside Cannes and Venice.
The Berlin International Film Festival began in 1951 as a symbol of Germany's post-World War II reconstruction and international reconciliation. It screens a diverse array of films from independent films to documentaries, animation, and experimental films. The festival is known for inviting artistically profound films valuing diversity and multiculturalism.
Around 200 films will be screened over 10 days in the German capital, with 6 Korean films in the lineup. Among the 20 competing for the main competition category is director Hong Sang-soo's latest film, A Traveler's Needs. This marks Hong's 5th consecutive year of being invited to the Berlinale.
Despite winning 3 silver bears at the Berlinale, Hong Sang-soo has yet to clinch the Golden Bear, the festival's highest honor. This time, his movie features veteran French actor, the internationally beloved Isabelle Huppert, so A Traveler's Needs can win this time.
In the short film category, there's Chung Yu-mi's Circle. With this 7-minute black and white film, Chung has become the first director to be invited to the Berlinale 4 times with an animation. Meanwhile, Kim Hae-young's debut feature, It's Okay, aims to capture the hearts of young people in the audience. The film is competing in the Generation K+ category with juries including children between 11 and 14 years old. Beyond the competition, the 4th installment of the Roundup series is making its world premiere at the Berlinale Special Gala. A cult thriller Exuma starring Choi Min-sik and the Korean-Japanese documentary Voices of the Silenced will be screened as part of the Berlinale Forum and Forum Expanded. The winners of the major awards will be announced on February 24th, a day before the festival comes to a close.
Loads of excitement ahead of the Berlinale. Eugene, as we kick off the festival, how was the opening on Thursday?
Right, so the festival kicked off with a screening of the opening film, which is Small Things Like These, directed by Tim Millans, also produced by actor Matt Damon and starring actor Cillian Murphy. Now, this Irish-Belgian production, competing in the competition category, is set during Christmas 1985, depicting Ireland's Magdalen laundries, which are asylums that were run by Roman Catholic institutions from the 1820s until 1996, which forced young women to work in slave-like conditions.
And Eugene, what else can we look forward to during the festival's 10-day run?
Right, so the Berlinale is known to be the most political among the big 3 festivals that I mentioned. So this year it's going to offer visitors a chance to have an open dialogue on the Israel-Hamas war. So a meeting space called the Tiny House Project will be set up from Saturday to next Monday at the Potsdamer Platz Square. And also this year's honorary Golden Bear Award, which recognizes exceptional artistic careers, will go to the Oscar and Palme d'Or winning American director, producer, and screenwriter Martin Scorsese. He'll receive his trophy next Tuesday, followed by a screening of his 2006 thriller, The Departed.
Much to look forward to. Keep us posted. Thanks, Eugene.
Thank you.
Today, a day before the weekend, the cold snap eased off during the afternoon. Tomorrow will mostly be sunny across the country, and the air will be clean without fine dust. It will be a little chilly until tomorrow morning. Then temperatures will rise from the daytime, going back to as cozy as early spring again. The weather will be warm enough to do outdoor activities. However, with the rise in temperatures, do expect wide temperature gaps in daily readings. Most regions will see a gap of around 10 degrees or more. It's much easier to catch a cold under such fluctuating temperatures, so make sure to dress in layers. Tomorrow's Seoul will start off at -1 degree Celsius, Daegu and Gwangju 0 degrees. Daily highs in Seoul will get up to 10 degrees, Daegu and Busan 14 degrees Celsius. This weekend, the entire nation is forecast to see rainfall, and this rain is expected to continue for a long time until the middle of next week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world. That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session up next.